Hi there. You're looking at an early three-dimensional interface that is done in virtual reality for the Ecological Visualization Network, EVEN. You can hold the data in one hand and select different rows with the other hand, or different columns. Columns look like charts. Rows look like a collection of different attributes. So in this case, I can pull out a column and look at all of the individual values in that, and you notice it easily lift it out. I can also filter to choose different ranges of values. So here I'm filtering to different value ranges. I'm able to use that to select in between a number of different properties. Let's say having the columns will rotate, you can also lift out a row, and this acts as a way to view all of the different properties of that particular instance. Having a spherical interface like this really helps you to understand how this all integrated properties of a unified concept, and actually feels surprisingly good in VR when you are doing it. What we can also do here is select certain parts of values. So here you notice there are two different values. We can filter out all the different kinds of data and then look at them individually. For instance, here we're looking at just the atom, let's say just the atom data without the bonds. So if we were to pivot this data, looking for the x-axis, pivot that against the y-axis, and you get a chart. But actually forgot to put in the bond data in there. So if you pivot x against y, here you get a chart of a molecule with the bond shown. You can look at the different layers here. So this is a two-dimensional chart extruded over time, or extruded over the dimension of properties. So we can look at each property, as opposed to a fully three-dimensional chart, which you're seeing here. Of course, we also have support for non-spherical graphs. In this case, we have a chart of the years mapped to the production of oats and a bunch of different properties about that. Now, of course, you can squash this down and look at it as just a two-dimensional graph, but it's a lot easier to see it as a three-dimensional multi-graph where you can look at the individual columns and in fact start to understand which one of these are costs versus benefits. For instance, there's a charge for the chemicals, and so you can start to mark that axis as negative. And we believe that this will be a way that we can take traditional tabular data and start to pivot it and reform it into more meaningful charts and tables. For example, I have over here another chart of how people move through a space in a restaurant. So the three lines going up represent the path of a customer as he's outside, he enters, orders, waits, and picks up the food. And so this is also tied to a timeline for the waiter and for the cook. And so you can start to understand how the two are trying to interrelate to each other, see where the connection points are. So it's a graph of the flow through a space. And what we can also do with that is reformat the flow from being in literal space to being in a more conceptual process space. So this is a really early visualization where there is a process that each customer goes through, as well as a process that all of the employees and partners go through. And by understanding the relationships in between those, we can form what I believe will be a new way of understanding ecological systems.